So a very fine good afternoon to everyone present here. Today we are going to discuss about lecture 30th. I hope you have watched from lecture 1 to 29, and if you have not watched it then you should definitely go and watch it so that you can understand things in a better way. So today we are going to discuss about model improvement techniques. Okay. Until now, we have learned how to build models, but building a model is not enough. We need to improve it. These techniques help us reduce errors, avoid overfitting, and build better performing models. So, how can we actually improve the model? Okay, so let's understand overfitting and underfitting. Okay, I have also discussed this in the previous lectures. If you have not seen it, you should definitely go and watch it. But here also you can understand. So underfitting happens when the model is too simple and cannot capture the pattern in the data. Overfitting happens when the model is too complex and learns even the noise in the data. As a result, it performs very well on training data but poorly on new data. The goal is to find a balance, a model that generalizes well. Okay, so I hope you have understood that. Here we'll understand it in a much better way. So here you see the left graph that you can see over here. Here we see underfitting. The model is too simple, it cannot capture the pattern in the data. The line is almost straight while the data clearly has a curve. Okay, this results in high error on both training and test data, and this is called high bias. Okay, here you see, here we have good fit. This is the ideal case. The model captures the true pattern of the data. It is not too simple, not too complex. So it performs well on both training and testing data, and that is what we aim for. Then here you see the right graph. Here you see the model is too complex and it tries to fit every point. You can see here, and it even learns noise in the data. So it performs very well on the training data but poorly on the test data. So this is called high variance. So now look here, as model complexity increases, training error keeps decreasing. Testing error first decreases, then it, you can see, it increases. The best point is where the testing error is lowest. Okay, and this is the optimal model. So underfitting is in which the model is too simple, overfitting too complex. Our goal is to have a balance between the both. We want a model that generalizes well to new data. So underfitting is like not studying enough, overfitting is like memorizing without understanding, and a good fit is a true understanding. The goal is not perfect training accuracy, it is a good performance on unseen data. Next we will discuss about a very important concept that is called cross validation. Okay, so what is cross validation? It is a new concept for all of you. So instead of splitting data just once, I have taught you in the previous lectures about train test split, and I have also told you that sometimes we take validation set also. Here you will understand cross validation. So instead of splitting data just once into training and testing set, we split it into multiple parts. In k-fold cross validation, the data is divided into k equal parts. We train the model on k1 part. Okay, we train the model on the k1 part and test it on the remaining part. The process is repeated k times, each time using a different part for testing. Finally, we take the average performance, and this gives a model reliable evaluation and helps in reducing the overfitting. So it basically trains multiple times and tests multiple times. You can take any value of k, you can take it 5, sometimes people take it 10 also. K is equals to 10 also you can take. Okay, so now we'll try to understand it from here onwards. So cross validation is a technique, as I said earlier, used to evaluate how well a model performs on unseen data. What is cross validation? Okay, here you can see, instead of splitting data just once into training and testing, we split it into multiple parts called folds. We train and test the model multiple times, and finally we take the average performance. Okay, here we see k-fold cross validation. Suppose we have taken k is equals to 5, we split the data into 5 parts. Okay, in each iteration one part is used for testing and remaining part is used for training the model. This process is repeated then 5 times. Okay, one part we have divided it into 5 parts. One is used for testing, rest for we have done training. Similarly, this part has been taken for testing and rest has been for training. Each fold gets a chance to be the best set. After all iteration, we calculate the average of all the scores. Okay, and this gives us more reliable measure of the model performance. This shows a simple example where data is split into 5 folds. Okay, here you can see the data is split into 5 folds. Each model is trained and tested and the result is averaged. Okay, so cross validation uses data efficiently, reduces overfitting, okay, gives more reliable result. Train multiple times, test multiple times, averages the result. Every data point is used for both training and testing, and cross validation is like testing yourself multiple times instead of just one. It helps us build model that generalizes well to new data. Now, well, I hope you have understood what cross validation is. Okay, now we'll try to understand the concept of a very important concept which can be asked in your interviews also, and it can be asked in your semester examination as well. Okay, that is hyperparameter tuning. Okay, from the name only you can understand what it means actually. Okay, hyperparameter are settings of model that we choose before training. For example, k in KNN or depth in decision tree. We try different values of these parameter to find the best combination. There are two common methods. We have grid search. Okay, we have grid search, tries all possible combination. Then we have random search, tries random combination. The goal is to find the parameter that gives the best performance. Okay, so now we'll try to understand it here, that what we actually do in hyperparameter tuning. Okay, so hyperparameter tuning, as I said earlier, is a process of finding the best setting for a model to improve the performance. Okay, here is a configuration setting we choose before training. For example, we choose k in KNN, okay, depth in a decision tree, or we choose learning rate in neural networks. Okay, these things they control how the model actually learns. Okay, so first what we do, how is the tuning process done? First we define the search space, then we choose a search method. Next we train and evaluate the model using different combinations, and after that we select the best parameter. And finally we train the final model using the best setting. Okay, I hope you have understood it till now. So I said by two methods we do the searching tuning part, that is grid search. Grid search tries all the possible combinations and it guarantees the best result but is slow and computationally it is very expensive. Then we have random search. Random search tries the random combinations. Okay, it is faster and work well for large search spaces, but it may miss the absolute test combination. Okay, so our goal is to find the best hyperparameter, okay, that gives the best performance on unseen data. So you should try different settings and evaluate them, and on the basis of that you should pick the best one. Better hyperparameters is equal to better model's performance. Hyperparameter tuning is like adjusting settings on a machine to get the best output. Now we'll discuss a very important topic that is also very important for your interviews or semester examination, whatever you will give. Okay, so it is very important, that is feature selection. Okay, name itself tells us what it actually means. Okay, so in many dataset not all features are important. Some features may be irrelevant or add noise. Feature selection helps us keep only the important features and removes the unnecessary one. This reduces complexity, speeds up the model and can improve performance. So instead of using all features we focus on most useful one. Okay, here we'll try to understand feature selection in a more better way. Okay, as I said earlier, name itself says what we are actually doing in the process. Okay, so as I said earlier, what feature selection is, it means choosing the most important features and removing the unnecessary ones to improve the model performance. Okay, it is a process of selecting a subset of relevant features for building a model. Not all features contribute equally, some may be irrelevant or redundant. Okay, So here you can see before feature selection we have many features, some useful and some are not useful. After feature selections, okay, we keep only the important ones and remove the rest. This reduces noise and improves efficiency. Okay, so feature selection, what it does, it improves model performance. First and foremost, it reduces overfitting, it makes training faster, it makes our model easier to understand. Okay, there are different ways to select features. We have filter method, wrapper method and embedded method. In filter method we use statistical techniques, which is fast and simple. In wrapper method we try different feature combinations using a model more accurate but slower. And in embedded methods, feature selection happen during training like lasso. Okay, we have one more method, that is hybrid method, which is the combination of multiple methods which we have discussed earlier. So in this example you can see some features like you can see here some feature like zip code or gender may be useful. Okay, here you can see, so we remove them and keep only the important ones like age, okay, age, income and education. Okay, so for small data set we should use filter method. Okay, and for better accuracy use wrapper or embedded method. Keep important features, remove the irrelevant one. Okay, more features, if you have more features it doesn't mean the model is good. Feature selection is like picking only useful ingredients for recipe. Like you're cooking and you want to cook a very delicious food, it doesn't mean you will mix all the things. Okay, you have to be very selective and precise in what ingredients you want to add in your food. So good features lead to better, faster and more reliable model. Next we will discuss about a very important topic. This is also very important, that is regularization. I have also discussed in the previous lecture about regularizations, and again I'm going to discuss it. I hope I have discussed it earlier as far as I remember. Okay, so coming to the next slide. So regularization helps prevent overfitting by controlling the model's complexity. Okay, it works by adding a penalty to large coefficients. There are two main types, that is L1 regularization, also called lasso, can shrink some coefficients to 0, which means it performs feature selection. Then we have L2 regularizations, also called ridge, reduces the magnitude of coefficient but keeps all the features. So regularizations helps build simpler and more generalizable models. So L1 selects feature, L2 shrinks the weight. Okay, so in the next slide we will discuss it in more detail, I will say. So see here, as I said earlier, regularization is a technique used to prevent overfitting by controlling the model's complexity. And as you can see here, it adds penalty to large model weights. Okay, and this prevents model from becoming too complex and learning noises. Okay, so here you can see we have underfitting. Okay, without regularization model becomes too complex and it goes into overfitting. Okay, with proper regularization we get a balanced model, and too much regularization our model becomes too simple, underfitting. So we need the right balance. Okay, so we modify the loss function, you can see here, by adding a penalty term. Lambda controls how strong the penalty is. Smaller lambda, less penalty, complex model. Larger lambda, more penalty, simpler model. So there are two types of mainly regularization. Okay, we have L1 lasso and then we have L2 regularization, that is ridge. Okay, so L1 can shrink some coefficients to 0, that means it removes less important features. And L2 reduces the size of coefficients but does not make them 0. It keeps all the feature but makes them smaller. So here we have a visual comparison. In L1 you can see some weights become exactly 0. Okay, and in L2 all weights are reduced but none becomes 0. Okay, so main thing is that why we use regularization, it helps to prevent overfitting, it improves the generalization, and it helps to control the model's complexity. So regularization keeps the model simple to avoid overfitting. Okay, and L1 is mainly for feature selection and L2 is for weight shrinking. Regularization is like putting a limit so the model doesn't overreact to noise. Our goal is not to fit perfectly but to generalize well. Okay, I hope you have understood this part as well. Okay, I've tried my level best to explain it, what we actually do. Let's conclude this lecture. Okay, and what we have learned in this lecture. So these are the some model improvement techniques. We learned how to avoid overfitting and underfitting. We used cross validation for better evaluation. We tuned hyperparameter to improve performance. We selected important features to reduce complexity, and we applied regularization to control the model. These techniques help us build strong and reliable machine learning models. So a good model is not just trained, it is tuned and improved. I'm really grateful to all of you for coming till this part of the video. Okay, I hope you like it. If you like it, do share your point of views in it and kindly support us. I will be really grateful to all of you. Thank you so much. Keep learning.